In a world where a new challenger approaches and untidy backlogs kill the video game vibes, this is Sick and Wired. Welcome everybody back to another episode of Sick and Wired. Today is a special episode. It is just me and a special guest, a good friend of mine. His name is Ethan.
Hello.
He is sick.
I'm sick.
But we're going to get through this. Together. You and me, pal. You and I, pal. So today we're going to be looking at some of our games in our backlog. Every gamer, pretty much, that's ever existed has had a backlog. Well, except for the original gamers who played Pong. They didn't have much of a backlog. You think about the people who played Pong. They're just like, I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I just haven't finished.
I need to finish chess first.
I haven't gotten a high score on Monopoly yet.
But I'll get to it. So we're just gonna take a look at one thing that that Ethan and I always like to do is we like to do these kind of top 10 lists with each other, and we like to go through it one by one and just kind of discuss the top 10. So the way this is going to work is instead of 10, we actually have 7, top 7 games in our backlog. And basically one is games that we can't wait to, well, I shouldn't say can't wait. That's why they're in the backlog. But games that we really want to get into, and we are dead set on finishing it. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it is definitely getting finished. And as we get closer to 7, it's games that are that we'd still like to get back to, but less so. We've decided to exclude games that we've bought, but have decided to not continue playing, or just ended up not having enough interest to play. So this is strictly games that we plan on finishing / playing at one point. But before we get into that, a kind of tradition almost on Sick and Wired is we always like to talk about what games are we playing right now. So, okay. Ethan, what games are you playing right now?
Well, pretty much all my time has just been going to Super Smash Bros. Right now. I play a lot of competitive games, so I like that aspect of it. I haven't really picked up many single-player games. Still waiting on a couple to come out, like Shovel Knight, DLC, just a couple things that aren't here yet. Nothing's really grabbed me this year.
Yeah, well, we'll see as the year goes on. For to give a little frame of reference to everyone listening, Ethan is a big Nintendo fan, loves Nintendo. So that's the majority of the games he enjoys playing. However, he can appreciate other games, and he has played games outside of Nintendo, of course. My big ones right now are I finally got a PlayStation VR. So, and my first game that I knew I was going to get when I got a PlayStation VR was Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. It's so cool being in the house and in the garage of Rick and Morty. It's really, really immersive and fun. They did a really great job with that game. I've also been playing Smash Bros. Not quite to the extent of Ethan. I'm not nearly good enough to go to tournaments, although many people say that I am. He knows that's not true. And then actually a game that I was playing just recently. Not sure when this episode will get out, but I've played the Anthem VIP demo. This is just after the VIP demo for Anthem, and it looked pretty good. Some server issues. I had a really bad bug where my guy didn't have a head and I couldn't use any guns, so I was just meleeing everything. But that's that's a common problem in Bethesda games, so I'm used to it.
Standard EA practices.
Yeah, EA practice. EA at its finest.
You didn't get the head DLC.
That one's coming out in November. And then actually a game that was recommended to me by, oh shoot, it was either Max or Zach in one of the most recent podcasts, was Uplink, which is kind of the one of the very first hacking games, and so far it's pretty cool. I think it's not really going to be a game I'm going to dedicate a ton of time to, but I'm definitely going to be chipping away at it, just kind of whenever I feel like, yeah, I've got some downtime. Let's put up some Uplink. Man, I'm realizing how long my list is. Still haven't finished. Still working on, at the time of this recording, Life is Strange 2. In a normal world for me, I would have finished that long ago already, but not this time around, just because time constraints. But anyway, so let's get into these lists. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started with my number 7. Then Ethan, you'll go ahead with your number 7 pretty shortly. But my number 7 is a game that I absolutely hate, but I will definitely finish it no matter what. Ethan probably already knows what it is.
Yeah.
But it's Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. And, we try to make this a good family-friendly podcast, but I hate this game. This is one of the worst games ever, and I've got to finish it. I can't not finish this game. The problem is, the reason that I can't finish this game, though, is because I just know that the second I get into the game, I made a lot of progress on my last one. And I know that the second I get into the game, all that progress is going to be gone. The minute I get into it, I try to do one thing, and I'm going to forget how the fuck to play the game, and I'm just going to go off the cliff all the way down to the beginning. And then I'm not going to play it again for about two or 3 years. So that's number 7 for me. I don't know. I guess as far as I should have mentioned, we want to kind of talk about the games as we go, just kind of our thoughts on them as well. But to me, it seems like a good game. What I like about it is that it has a message behind it, even though it's just super frustrating and time consuming and irritating. It has an ultimate message behind it, and I really like that about it. It would just be really nice to hear the message, because you get the message as you're progressing through the game, and Bennett Foddy comes on the loudspeaker like Morgan Freeman and starts telling you stuff. But so that's my number 7. Decent game.
All right. So my number 7 is Night in the Woods.
Okay.
So I started playing this game. God, it's probably been like 8 months now. I got it one night, and I started playing it, and I really liked it. I was loving the characters. Dialogue was smart. All the sort of mini games within it were a lot of fun, and the art, I appreciated the art style personally, and I was really liking it. And I had one sitting with it. It was a couple hour long sitting, so I got not like a majority of the game, but I got a decent amount of the game. I understand what it's about and everything, and I kind of just never really came back. I think the main reason I didn't really come back is that it's such a story-based game. Like, it has some fun little mini games, but the gameplay is not groundbreaking or anything. I do want to go back to it because I really like the characters of the story, and I just want to see where it goes. And the dialogue was charming, and I want to be able to experience all of it. But it's just not exciting or fun enough to really pull me back in. You know what I mean?
It's not really a gameplay centered game. It's more of a story thing. So it's really one of those things, and you have it on Switch, right?
Yeah.
So especially on the Switch, that's definitely one of those games that can go off by the wayside, but then you can totally see yourself like, you know what? Maybe I'm on a plane or I'm on a road trip in the passenger seat. I'm doing this. Just I have an extended period of free time. You know what? Let's just get in and
Yeah,
finish
exactly.
this story
But I do
because
it.
it is kind of a cool story, but it's just
Yeah,
hard to sit through.
I do intend to do it. When I do replay it or finish it, rather, it'll probably be in chunks rather than just a big sitting or like 2 days on end where that's all I play.
That makes sense. All right. So I'll go in with my number six, Fallout, the original Fallout.
The
Um,
original.
yeah, I have actually never, I have never played a Fallout game in its entirety before. Um, Simply because, and this seems to be universal with Bethesda games in general. They're so RPG that it's overwhelming. I get in, yeah, I get in, and you get this. I get this flood of okay, welcome to the game. Here's a quick tutorial of how you can play. Okay, now you can go do this, go do this, go do this. And I kind of mentioned this on an article of mine where I talk about open worlds, um, and it's just when you sometimes and Bethesda's known for that. That's pretty much all they do is open worlds for the most part. But the problem is that it's just so difficult to have that many things thrown at you when part of my personality when playing games is okay, I want to feel a sense of completion. I want to feel a sense of okay, I progressed. And it's so hard to get that feeling when even though you just spent 5 hours of your time doing these missions over here, you've got 130 other side missions or tons of other places to explore. And even this original Fallout game is pretty vast, in the sense that it's totally it, it's a different kind of open world because of the era it's from, where you don't really your traveling is pointing and clicking to a place on a map and you kind of go to that place. But because of that, it makes it the possibilities even more infinite in a way. Like oh well, if you're not going to have to spend all this time traveling, if they're not going to have to do all this design for this world that you have to constantly travel through and that constantly generates itself, well then we can spend more time creating more areas, more a vaster world for you to explore, but you can do it a little more quickly. So it's a game that's hard. So those are games that are hard for me to get back to. But one thing that I found when I did play the original Fallout a little bit was I just really enjoy. Um, I enjoy the NPCs and the character interactions in it. It they feel genuine. I felt like, and this is something I mentioned in a recent podcast. I feel like the Fallout series kind of has always had good dialogue between NPCs, but but the problem is that some subpar voice acting has kind of ruined it
Yeah,
a
that
little
makes
bit.
sense.
So
So, question. I'm not pretending to be a huge Fallout fan, but I'm pretty sure it's generally agreed on that 3 and New Vegas are the best. So why'd you start with 1? Seems like really archaic, and it seems to me like it's not super representative of the series as a whole. You know what I mean?
well, but you see, that's the thing is that it is a little different from the series, and I've never really been able to finish the series. I've never even really liked the Fallout series that much. Um, Fallout 4 I have Fallout 4 I have and I haven't finished it, but that's not on this list. Spoiler alert. I just have no interest in going back and playing it. Fallout 3 is something I haven't tried yet, but The problem is that I imagine it's basically just kind of worse Fallout 4, and I don't have a lot of basis for saying that, but and then Fallout 2 is one that's uh is basically more of Fallout 1 in a lot of aspects. And so why not start with Fallout 1? And then New Vegas is considered the best of the series, but um that one I just don't own. And I
Okay.
don't have a burning desire because of my experience with Fallout to go out and say, "Oh yeah, I'll pay however much for Fallout New Vegas and give it a
Okay.
shot." So, I
Well,
don't know. It's just hard with the Bethesda makes it hard to finish a Fallout game.
that makes sense.
All right, you're number 6. That was a long
All
one.
right. My number 6 is the Mega Man Legacy Collection. Mega Man is a franchise that a lot of people hold dear that I didn't get to grow up with. Um, Although it should be something I like because I like harder games and I like platformers. So I was really excited for the Legacy Collection to come out last summer, and I got through maybe the first 3 games, halfway into the fourth one, and I kind of put it. I was really liking it, and I kind of put it down because I think I was just forcing myself to go through them all because I wanted to experience them all because they're supposed to be so good. But all the Mega Man games are pretty much just very similar games. It's not a ton of new stuff. There are new weapons, new enemies, and all that, but it's the same game every time. So after you play that for so long in one sitting, it can get a bit repetitive almost. And there are a lot of just game design things that I really don't like that just show the aging of it. These games are from the 80s. Not everything's going to hold up. For instance, back then they had to make games artificially harder to expand the length. And the life system, I complain about this a lot, in older games like Mega Man, like Donkey Kong Country, is incredibly frustrating because I love when games are hard, but I don't love redoing half of a stage 18 times because it's hard. I want to be able to just do this one part and then move on. So having to redo the same thing over and over gets really frustrating.
That makes sense, and that's why that's part of the reason why one game I'm really scared to get started with, but I will eventually is is Dark Souls remastered. I am very scared of that experience. That is going to be one that could potentially. I'm afraid it's going to be one that could potentially break a console. It's it's a little nerve wracking, but it's it's hard difficult games like that. So that's just what some gamers like. Like one if I can plug a YouTube channel, Video Game Donkey, which is one that we love to watch. Um, he really he gets so pissed off at these harder games, but he does enjoy them, and he'll spend hours on just one part of a video game because he feels so much like he needs to accomplish that and finish that, and that's how he gets his enjoyment out of video games. He gets really frustrated with redoing parts, but the payoff when he does complete them is so great that it's worth it. But I think, but for some gamers, especially me, into a lesser extent you, it's just not worth it enough
Yeah.
to do that.
And I do love like hard games. Like Cuphead was one of my favorite games of 2017. But the thing with Cuphead is you don't have to redo 20 minutes of gameplay just because you mess something up. I love overcoming those challenges, but I don't love overcoming them over and over.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So because it'll be like, okay, here's a challenge for you, and you lose to that a few times, and you're like, okay, um, and then and then after a little while, it starts to get frustrating, and then you beat it. But then what you realize is that there's another challenge right after that, and if you lose that challenge, you have to beat the first challenge
Exactly.
again.
Exactly.
And you're
That
like,
could be
but I just beat it. Where's the
that.
checkpoint?
It can be super tiring, especially in older games.
Yeah. All right. So That was what, number 6. So number 5 here for me is No Man's Sky. Another game that, kind of like I talked about with the Bethesda games, it's so big. It's too big for its own good. Where your mission is literally to just explore the universe. That is a lot of responsibility. I mean, I got it when with that huge patch that kind of put No Man's Sky back on the map this past year, and and it is a really cool game in a lot of its own right. But the problem is that you get really tired of going through and being like, okay, go to the planet, find some minerals, talk to some of these people, explore kind of that system and planet and stuff. All right, next one. And then do the same thing, and then next one. It's just the repetition that gets you, and then you're like, okay, well, I think I'm done playing this for a while. And I don't think the repetition makes it a bad or worse, even a worse game necessarily, but it does make it hard to finish and hard to appreciate when you feel like you can't progress. There's no like no matter what you do, you're just stagnant. That's a killer. If you're gonna feel stagnant in a game, people aren't gonna want to play your game.
You always want to feel like you're doing something. You're going towards the next checkpoint or fulfilling the next goal.
Yeah. Even in games like I really like PC Building Simulator, and that's a game that I can play for a couple hours, any given day for any given reason. Really, just I'll plug it in and play it. But the thing is that the reason I can continue to play that, even though I've already technically finished the like campaign mode or story mode, if you will, is the reason I could still go back and keep playing it is because there's so many options, so many customization things, so many ways to build a PC, so you can kind of do free build if you want. Customers in the story are going to keep asking you to repair the PCs, and so it's a good way to kind of keep your mind busy, and that's what that game does well. But No Man's Sky is too big to just simply keep your mind busy, and that's what it kind of does almost. It tries to do, and you're like, no, this game is too big for that.
It's too much. It's trying to keep you busy with all the stuff you can do, but it just gets to a point where it's overwhelming.
Yeah. So that's my number 5.
All right. My number 5 is a game called Slime Sand. It's a little platformer. Came out on the Switch around the time it launched, so it's been a while. I got this game also around the time it launched, probably first 6 months of the Switch's lifespan, and I really liked it. And the only thing that caused me to put the game down was another game came out, and I can't remember exactly what game, but it was a game that I was excited for, so I wanted to put more time into that rather than Slime Sand. And I did want to get back to Slime Sand, and I went back to it semi-recently because I was like, I'm not playing any major games right now, I want to get this out of the way. And I was totally lost, because the game's a platform with a lot of super unique mechanics. It's fairly difficult, and I just, over the course of time that I had spent between actually playing through the game and going to pick it back up, I had forgotten almost everything, because there are a lot of things in this game. It's kind of complicated. I didn't remember the controls. I didn't remember like what enemies did what, or how the levels worked. It was so much that coming back to it after such a long break, I just felt like I couldn't do it, and that made me not want to revisit it. You know what I mean? But I did.
Easy to put down, but hard to pick back up.
Exactly.
That's a killer.
And I did really like it, so I want to finish it because I think it's a quality game, but it's just as barriers, just like, it's really hard to get past.
Yeah, that's man. That's kind of and that's kind of a unique problem too.
Yeah.
easy to put down but hard to pick back up. Um, Honestly, I feel like I see that with some. I see that with games like I see that with if in a situation where you are playing a sequel to an original game that you didn't play.
Yeah.
Because because it's that kind of game that you could see that problem where it's like you get in and you're automatically lost because it's a sequel. And some sequels just aren't tailored towards new players. They expect you to have the knowledge of the previous game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're just like what the hell am I going to do? And then so it's easy to put back down, and then whenever you see it kind of in your library, you're just like there's got to be other games
Yeah.
that I'd rather be playing right now. And that's when you'll even be like, "You know what? I so badly just don't feel like picking that up that I've like you start going shopping online for a new game to buy
Yeah.
just
Just
so
to
you
fill the
can
void.
play." Yeah. I've definitely run into that where I've seen some of these games in my backlog and I'm still like, nah, I'm gonna look on the Steam specials or I'm gonna
Hmm.
take a look at GameStop, see what pre-owned games there are.
Yeah, but that it is frustrating because I enjoyed my time with it a lot. But it's hard to go back to.
Yeah. All right. So number 4, another Bethesda game, Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. There's a very similar problem there, but the another problem that goes with it that I don't find as prevalent in the Fallout games is that I'm one for story. I love story. And you know this about me, and anyone
Yeah.
who's like had any kind of extended conversation with me about video games also knows this about me. Just I can't get enough of a good story. And the problem is that what Bethesda is good at with the Elder Scrolls games isn't necessarily story, it's lore. And they do have their shining spots with story, but frankly, I wouldn't consider that one of their specialties. Lore is
Definitely.
their specialty. They're good at these very complex worlds with these very unique backgrounds behind them and how they came to be, and that's kind of what Bethesda does.
Which is cool in its own right. It's just not what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's just not something, and specifically, and I want to do an article about this at some point, but specifically, I just I hate the idea of, oh well, a lot of our story comes from lore. And guess how you find out the lore? You have to read these 830 books we've placed somewhere in the map, and then you're good. You got it all.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Plus the DLC that's coming out. You don't want to hear about it. So it
We got EA involved in that.
so that's just something where that's such a turn off
Yeah.
as a gamer. Like really, I'm trying to play this cool game with these dragons and really cool magical powers, and I gotta read. That's how I'm gonna get my story. Like that is an immediate no for me,
To
and
get
I
the
hate that.
story to get the story in Elder Scrolls 6, you have to perform complex calculus problems.
um, what is the square root of 17? All right, now you can access the puzzle that you need to read the lore. It's they make it too hard to
Yeah.
read the lore, and honestly, that makes me sound like a lazy bastard. But it's too difficult to get the lore in those
Mhm.
games, and that's where like a bunch of the meat is. I mean, other
Yeah.
than that, Skyrim's a buggy mess, and it's known for that. That's one of the things it's known for.
It skipped me through the whole tutorial through a wall.
Oh yeah, I remember your story about that. That's funny. But yeah, that's a game that it is high on the list. It is 4. Um but I just I know at some
Yeah.
point I'm going to go back to it, and I'm going to dedicate myself to making sure I complete that, because it is, and we were actually talking about this earlier today, it is kind of getting into that classic territory where it's a
Yeah.
classic game. You thought it was. I personally don't think it's there yet, but it is kind of riding that line of being a classic, an all time classic, and so it's something that I own it. I should at least finish like a lot of the main stories, even if I don't get to all of the side stuff.
Yeah, even if you don't get 932 hours in.
Oh yeah, which I know is a sin, but sometimes you gotta
We could
prioritize.
settle.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person. What can I say?
All right. So my number four is a lot of the stuff about I have to say about this is similar to Mega Man. It's Banjo Kazooie.
Oh,
It's held to be this classic 3D platformer. So I actually started playing it in, I want to say, late October, because there was the hype train that Banjo Kazooie is going to be in Smash, and I was like, I know he deserves it. I know he has the legacy. I want to experience the game because I've heard it's so good, and it should be right up my alley. And so I started playing it on an emulator on my computer. Don't sue me. Um, and I loved it. It pulled me right in. I loved the world. The movement felt great. Obviously, some issues. It's a 20-year-old game at this point, older than that even. Camera was poor. Some of the level design was really frustrating. The life system, broken record, but that was really frustrating. You'd have to restart the entire world if you died, which is not a super hard game, but it did happen once or twice, and it totally took me out of it.
thank you, Snake
Uh,
Pass.
but I do want, and I stopped playing because I was trying to force myself through it, just to like ride this hype train of Banjo Kazooie's gonna be in Smash, which spoiler alert, he isn't. And I felt like I was forcing myself to go through it too fast to truly enjoy it, so I kind of burnt myself out and felt the repetition setting in because it is a 3D platformer. It can be repetitive. And once the game started getting not like super difficult, but harder, the issues became a lot more apparent, especially the life system. And it just kind of took me out of it. I do intend to go back because it has the legacy to deserve a 3D platformer fan to play it, and it's a very good game from what I've experienced. It's just I have not gotten back to it yet.
Yeah. Forgot what I was gonna say. All right. Yeah, those. So whenever you have that's what I was. So whenever you have a game where, I mean, I've always had these games where I've had to force myself to pick it up again, but usually when I get into it, it's a really good experience, and it just kind of comes naturally to keep playing it for a few hours. But you never want to feel like you're forcing yourself to play the game. Like in the
Yeah.
middle of the game, you're forcing yourself. You're like, okay, I gotta complete this game. I gotta complete this game. That's something you hate,
Yeah.
and you know that you've got a game that maybe you're just not a fan of. Like maybe you're just not a fan of Banjo Kazooie, and that's okay. But we'll forgive you in 20 years. But it's something where the second you start to feel that, it's almost like it's all over.
Yeah.
Like I probably, if it were me and that's in your situation, I probably wouldn't even finish it.
And I did, and I want to finish it because I did really like it. It pulled me in, and I really liked it for most of my playtime. But just at the very end, I felt like I was burning myself out, and it was just like,
You,
I'd
you were
rather be
trying
doing something else.
you were trying so hard to get the legacy for Smash, and that maybe now that you don't have that kind of pressure, then you'll
Self-made pressure.
yeah, you'll enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But number 3, We Happy Few. Oh shoot. We Happy Few. That's a game that I would say I think it gets a it's so weird. I have this love-hate relationship with it. I think it gets a worse rap than it should, but at the same time, I don't think it's great. I don't think it's that good. But I think it gets a worse rap. I think the reason is because people dislike it for all of these reasons, but there are a few of those reasons where I'm like, oh, but that's redeemable. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that was taken a little out of proportion, but the rest of it, you guys are completely right, sucked. It was terrible. And but
Unplayable.
yeah, unplayable, but come on.
But it's not bad.
But it's really not that bad. It's just awful. But is it that bad? So things like it's buggy. It's buggy. The amount of times. I mean, this is a serious bug. Sometimes there are bugs that you see one time and it's like, oh well, how there's nothing. There's very little the
You got it?
restarting. There is nothing that the developers could really do because they can't anticipate every situation. But We Happy Few was suffering from bugs that were recurring and that were very universal across it. Like there were constant bugs of me seeing what few NPCs there were, seeing them hovering. Like a ton. It's not a small one. It's one that I ran into over and over and over again, especially in shoot, it's been so long now I can't even remember the name of the place. The during your first playthrough with Arthur, which is one of the main characters.
Yeah.
During your first playthrough as Arthur, you spend a lot of time in the big city. Can't remember its name right now, but it's extremely buggy. I don't know what it is. There's certain collisions in there that just aren't working properly, but it's not a something where it's like, okay, well, they can't prepare for every scenario. This is a scenario that is just simply walking or standing in place for an NPC, and they didn't get it right.
We never considered that the NPCs would move or not move.
Hold on. Wait a second. Who put the NPCs there? Bill, was that you again? God dang it, Bill.
Wait, we're a game company? I thought this was a restaurant.
I've been shipping wine for the past 3 months. I don't know what you guys have been doing. So it's a very I think that's a very severe problem. There are a lot of other bugs like that I won't take the time to like go into because the list is extensive, but the thing is that I really did enjoy the story, and I thought the voice acting was actually really good. I thought the cutscenes and animations were nice. Some of the side missions were a little bit rough, but I still enjoyed them for the most part. Again, some of them suffered from some bugs where it was hard to like get through them because of the stealth system, which is not great.
Yeah.
But overall, it is a game that I'd like to go back to again because of its story and overall its premise. I think is really cool, and I think it's worth the playthrough. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It sucks to see a game with such a cool premise. It has a lot of potential, but it's like a Bonobo 8 programmed this. Who assigned this to them?
It's never an easy thing to see a game that you're so excited about. A game that like I spent $60 on this game because I thought it looked really cool. It looked like a really fun premise. It was in early action or whatever for a fairly long time, and it just didn't come through the way that everyone thought it would.
Yeah, 100%.
All
All
right.
right. So my number three is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
And so I was super excited for this game. Since Double Cross got announced in Japan to be ported to the Switch, I was one of the people screaming for a localization because I dabbled in the Monster Hunter series on the 3DS a bit, but I've always wanted to really delve into it. And it finally came out on the Switch, and I was super excited to delve into it. And I started playing it, and I realized that this game is not meant for a solo player. This is you're supposed to play this with your friends, which sucked because none of my friends really wanted to play this at the time. So
Sorry.
so it kind of went on the back burner for the moment. And then finally, recently, one of my friends got the game on like December 2nd, which for the uninitiated was just a few days before Smash Ultimate, which was like my most anticipated game. So really, the fact that I put this game down is no fault of its own. It's just really unfortunate timing, and not even for the release of the game. It's unfortunate timing for my friend to get the game. But the time I did spend in the game with a friend was a ton of fun. So I really want to go back because I feel like I could definitely get immersed into this and play it a lot.
This is actually a game I've considered buying because you want someone to play it with. Because I feel like there are a lot of games have that have premises or gameplay elements that I'm just not a huge fan of. But but they're just games where even when alone they're kind of crappy. It When you play it with a friend, it's like a whole different experience.
Yeah.
And and that's how I felt about a Nidhogg.
Oh yeah.
I felt like that was a game where it's like, why would you want to play this alone ever? And so, but you grab a friend and you play it, and it becomes maybe one of the funniest experiences of all time. Like it's just a lot of fun. So
Yes.
yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
You're
Me
welcome.
too.
So number two for me is Grease. Uh, Little platforming game with beautiful watercolor type visuals that has a great soundtrack. And honestly, what's kept me from it, even though I was really excited about it, was I thought there would be a more prevalent story in it than there is. It is such a cool game, but it's not enough for me to be like, oh, I want to see some watercolor paint today. So let's open up Greece. It's like, again, the story. I want that story. I want that experience where I'm like, man, this is just like no other. I learned so much from it, or whatever. And honestly, maybe the story could be more prevalent as the game goes on. I just wouldn't know because it got to a point where I was like, okay, I've had enough of this for now, and then never mustered the excitement back up to play it again. Which is weird because when I think back to my playthroughs or my the times I've cracked it open and played with it, they're nice memories, and I'm like, oh man, that was cool. That's a cool game. I really like that. I like this mechanic about it, but it's still just not enough, especially since Grease came out very recently, and there have just been so many games coming out, as there usually are, that are AAA that I feel like I need to give my attention to. So it's an unfortunate situation. I'm sure. I think I'm really going to be able to get like bust into that and get it done by summer. Like if it's not done by summer, which I expect that I will have it done by then summer's going to be the time where it's like, okay, now I've got a little more time on my hands because I just naturally do during the summer. But
What do you
that's going to be the time.
What are you playing it on?
PC.
Okay.
It's for Switch too.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say you could just play it on the plane to E3 or something.
yeah, exactly. But it's just something that when it comes to Switch versus PC, in that case, it's something that I just wanted
Yeah,
to
for
sit
sure.
down in a comfortable spot and because it was so visually and impressive, and again the soundtrack, it's something that I need. I want headphones for it. I
Yeah,
want the best graphics for it. So I wanted that kind of experience
yeah,
while
for
playing
sure.
it.
That's a discussion for another day, anyways.
Yeah. Hint,
All right.
hint.
All right. So my number two is Octopath Traveler.
Oh, you didn't
Uh,
finish that.
no, I didn't, and I have a very similarly unfortunate story for why I didn't finish that as Monster Hunter. This game came out, I want to say like a week or two before E3, and I got the game on launch day. I actually played the demo 2 days before launch, something like that, because I
Oh,
was
big man.
skeptical, and I was like, this demo was incredible. I'm getting the game on launch. I don't care. So I did, and I loved what I experienced with the game. And it's a JRPG, so it's a massive game. And I had maybe 30 hours in the game, and I was fully intending on playing it out. Uh, and then shortly after, um, I believe Hollow Knight came out.
Oh, that's one of your
Is
all-time
which was
favorites.
my yeah one of my now it's one of my all time favorite games, and that just completely stole my time away. I just had no. I didn't want to go back to Octopath during Hollow Knight because I just wanted to keep playing Hollow Knight because the game was just so fun. And after Hollow Knight, uh, like there were a lot of smaller games that came out last year that I was excited for and kept playing throughout the year, and just I never got around to going back to Octopath Traveler. But I loved the game. It's one of my favorite turn-based combat systems of all time. It's so fun. I love the visuals, and the characters and story are very hit or miss, as is usual with JRPGs. But I fully intend to go back to it because I had such a positive experience with it. Uh, it hasn't pulled me back in yet, you know.
Mm-hmm. Curious. So you sunk a lot. You sunk a lot of hours into Enter the Gungeon. Where does that fall on that timeline? Because that took up a lot of your
Oh,
time.
that's true. So thinking about back to the timeline of this area, I believe there's a big update for Enter the Gungeon around a similar time. Uh, in the summer, I think. It might have actually been early, I'm not sure, but I spent a lot of time playing Enter the Gungeon after that update. It was probably my most played game last year, easily. And
Yeah,
that definitely took away from playing other games because you can't play two games simultaneously,
yeah.
like physically.
If you could, you'd play two Enter the Gungeons.
Exactly. I play Enter the Gungeon and Smash Bros.
All right.
DLC?
um. So number one for me is BioShock. It's
Oh,
it's a
Bioshock 1?
yes, and specifically BioShock Remastered. Um, quick little tidbit. I might have already shared this before with the through the podcast, but it's so much. It's so weird how I got BioShock because it was a game that forever I was looking at it like, oh, the BioShock collection. That's a game I would love to get, or well, a collection of games I would love to get. BioShock collection. I hear really great things about it. I think it would be. It looks like it would be so much fun. But I just never did get around to buying it. I never had like the. It's. I don't think it's that I didn't have the funds to do it, but it's just I didn't have the drive quite enough for it to be something that I put my money towards just yet. I wasn't in
Yeah.
that place, and so it just kind of sat in the back of my mind for a long time. And then one day I got a message from Steam. It was like, "Oh, something new is in your inventory." And okay, I don't know what that is. So I opened
Probably
it
a
up.
card.
Yeah, And so I opened it up, and it was a coupon. If you can even call this technically a coupon, this is like above and beyond coupon territory. But it was like, oh, hey, just, your classic thing you get in your inventory, get the entire BioShock collection for free. Wait, what? And so I still don't understand how that happened, or if other people got it, if it was part of some promotion. Did everyone get a bunch of free games, but I just happened to get BioShock? I was totally flabbergasted. I can't explain it, but Valve just basically gave me every BioShock game for free, including the originals and the remastered versions of the originals.
And that's big of Valve, because I'm still waiting to get the games I paid for from EA.
Yeah, when are we gonna get Battlefront 2? Like, when are we gonna get that game? But anyway, so BioShock is a game that, honestly, the combat is really cool, really satisfying. It's a little bit difficult for me personally, because I am just very inept. but it is fun and satisfying. The problem is that I was under the impression, when I heard people talk about it, that the story was really cool and intriguing and kind of complex, and that the characters were really cool, and I was like, oh, that is perfect. That's exactly the kind of game I love to get. But when I got it, the entire thing was like almost like Fallout 76, the way that it told its stories. And I'm just not a fan of that, where it's like there are a bunch of audio recordings, a bunch of written things all over the place. Again, with the like, hey, read this thing to get the story. Like, how about you tell me the story, you piece of shit? So it's just a game that frankly was disappointing to me. But it is still good, and I know in my heart of hearts that it's good, but I can't get over the disappointment and frustration of like, oh, where did the story go there? There is a big story there, but it's so difficult to get through. And so then it becomes all about the gameplay, and I am just not a fan of those games where it's like, hey, play this game because, why not?
Yeah.
Like, I need to get something out of it. And the only exception to that is games like Paladins. Like, I can enjoy a good MOBA or something like that. But the thing is that with a linear game like that, we're not playing with anyone else. It's just different. I need that story. I need that story gives me motivation.
That makes sense to me. And I will say, because the first two BioShocks are some of my probably top 25 games, that the story itself outside of lore does improve. And
okay.
So I will say that.
And that's something you told me before, so it keeps it in my mind. But
I do understand the frustration, though. BioShock can be hard. I was much younger when I played, and I played on normal mode, and I barely finished it because I used to be completely inept. But
so
when
I'm
I
just
first played,
a few years behind you then.
Yeah, just about. Get on my level. But it's not a super easy game, per se. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the podcast here. I think it's hovering around 54 minutes now, but one thing I want to talk about is one thing I want to talk about is these backlog games. How do these games like what things do these games need to get out of a backlog? Like, what is the backlog cure? Like, if the developers could just go into a game and change it on a dime, what are the things that it's like, okay, if you get these things, then your players will finish it.
So I think the biggest thing is that it needs to stay fresh. It can't be, oh, clear Mario World 1 again, but it's a desert this time. You know what I'm saying? It can't be the same thing over and over. It has to add new stuff, new toys to play with almost. Whether it's gameplay or whether it's an interesting turn to the story, it has to be something different to keep the user engaged. And you don't want them to go back and be like, I already did this. You know?
Right.
This is the exact same as the first half of the game.
That's one thing that you're going to be hard pressed to find a gamer who says, if there's something that I just can't wait to do, it's get into that one game where I just do the same thing.
Yeah.
For the longest time. If you have a game like that, there's something else that's so special about it that makes people okay with it. And I think one of those games is like some of the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Especially later on, as it starts to get repetitive of like, okay, now we're just looking for and catching more Pokemon.
Yeah.
Almost like, honestly, that's like CS:GO or no, Pokemon Go.
Practically the same game. For real though, side note, if they ever make a Pokemon FPS, I'll be the first person to put 1,000 hours into that game.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it's just like Pokemon Go because it's just nothing new.
Right, but people still... My point, though, was that people still go back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not for me personally. I did try it. It's not for me. But it is something that people will always be okay with going back to. And honestly, I think the key there is that it's really something you can do quick. And that's where a lot of these apps come in, where it's like you do these same things over and over again, and that's just kind of what what a lot of apps are. But it's okay because they're quick. It's something to fill the time real quick. Sort of like there's games like Balls and Boom Dots, both of which we've played, the Battle Cats, and those games are things you can quickly get onto, play a little bit of it, and then be done if you've had enough.
Yeah,
and then the cycle just continues. It's an easy thing to pick up. You get sick of it, you put it down. Easy thing to pick up, and then it just keeps going. And that's kind of the appeal of apps. But when you get into these more AAA titles and stuff, or not even AAA titles, some of these indie titles that are PC or console and things like that starts to go away. You can't.
Yeah, I understand that. It is kind of the a big part of the reason that people like the Switch so much, because it takes games that would usually be, I got to sit down and play this for 2 hours, to I can take this out, on the bus or something,
And it really combines both of those platforms of like mobile games and AAA games, where it can have all your AAA games on it, but at the same time it can be something where you're on the go and you pick it up real quick to play something that's not as time consuming.
Yeah.
So it really has like a double threat thing going for it that makes that gives it dual yay words.
It gives dual purpose functionality.
Yes, dual functionality. That's what I was going for. But yeah, so these are I don't know about you. This just scratches the surface of my backlog.
Yeah. I still haven't talked about my number one.
Oh, jeez. Why didn't you say anything?
I wasn't sure.
Okay, you know what? Just do your thing.
Okay. My number one is Dark Souls Remastered.
Okay.
So I'll try to make it quick. I don't really have too much to say, but I
No,
started playing.
take your time. I
Okay.
thought I was about to end it because I thought you were done. I don't know. I don't know why. I didn't think about it.
All right. Well, I'm only a bit pissed at you, so we're good.
All right.
But anyways, so I
5 more
started
years in
playing.
the hole.
This came out in October, and I got it. I don't think on launch, but like the week of launch, on Switch at least, which was 19 years after it came out on other platforms. And I haven't played much of it, but what I did play, I really liked. It just came out in a really busy time of my life. A lot of real life deadlines outside of gaming were coming up around the end of October for me. I was pretty much busy for all of October and November, so I really didn't get much time to touch this game. And after November, we all know the story. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out.
Baby.
So, uh, and what I did play this game, I could tell that once I put more time into it, I'll love it. I'm not quite there yet because it's a hard game, so it takes a while to really to get the ball rolling. But I can tell that once the ball is rolling, it's not going to stop. I'm going to really like it, I think.
Just to clarify, I actually don't know this. You have played some of it, or no?
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
have like 5 hours of it, which is not much.
Which compared to Enter the Gungeon is like two
It's like
minutes.
1/100th.
All right.
That's all for me, Coach.
All right. Good. We didn't want you here. Um. All right. So back to what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Uh, so what are some? I want to just point out a few games that I have because I know that was pretty much your backlog
Yeah.
entirely, but I had some more that I was prepared to talk about, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Hidden Agenda, which is a PlayStation exclusive, kind of an indie-ish title, and then Vampire by Don't Nod, a game that pissed me off to no end because um because I couldn't get through it again, inept, but
Uh,
but they've since added the narrative mode, and I was like, okay, finally I can get into the narrative mode, so it can be more for my baby style of playing, and I can really hammer this out because I really wanted to finish up the story. But then what I found out is that you can't change the mode mid game. Like, that's just insane.
yeah.
Why would you be able to do that? And so you actually have to restart the entire game over, and I was like, done
Wow.
before I even
That's it.
started. Before I even
Goodbye.
started again, I'm already done. Back into the backlog for you. But I will get it done at some point. Because I
Yeah, I know
honestly
what you're saying.
I wasn't that far in the game. But it's still, that's just frustrating.
For sure.
But it is something I will get done eventually. Um, and then last thing I wanted to talk about quickly was some games that you bought, but have just decided you don't want to play it anymore. You just, because so it was excluded from this list because this list again was just games that we were going to get back to or finish and eventually. But what are some games that you've bought where you're just like, you know what? I just don't like it anymore. I just don't want to play it.
So
This was a
I do
mistake.
have a couple. The biggest one is Bayonetta 1 and 2. I got the pack for the Switch because it's super hyped up. It's supposed to be a crazy good game. And I'm not a huge fan of beat 'em ups, but I decided to try it anyways, which I don't think I should have because I knew that the game wouldn't be for me, but I tried it anyways, and I just didn't like it, frankly. I'm not a fan of that style of combat. It's just I don't want to say it's too simple because there's some cool like deep combos and stuff you can do. It's just uh, I'm not a fan of just how it works. And alongside that, a couple of smaller games that I don't plan on going back to, not necessarily because they're bad, just because I've lost the interest. Um, there are just a couple of smaller indies, Shantae, Steam World Heist, um, Golf Story, just indies that were considered very good on the Switch that I got, and I do agree they're good. I had fun with them. It's just I didn't have enough fun with them to want to go back because there are so many games on the Switch that just being kind of fun isn't enough. You know?
Yeah, totally. Well, for me, I don't think I'm gonna go back and finish Mario Kart Wii.
What?
Or and I really
I'll
don't
believe
think
it. Goodbye.
I really don't think that I'm going to finish up Golfing Simulator. I think that's a game that
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the patch. Frankly.
okay, but for real, this is gonna be my unpopular opinion of the year, or
Oh
of the
no.
decade, or of my life probably. But supposedly one of the best RPGs or whatever, I don't know, best open world games, best fantasy games of all time, and it sucks massive. Is The Witcher 3.
Oh,
That
that's
game,
ballsy.
that game sucks so bad. I cannot finish that game. I remember I was like, very recently, like past couple months or so, I was like, I really got to finish this game, or at least finish the story parts. And then I
Uh,
realized why I couldn't finish the story parts, even just the story parts, because there are just things in it that are so integral to that are so integral that are
uh,
overlooked. Like riding your horse is a mess. Doing that is
yeah,
terrible. It is such a bad experience, especially since when I tried to hop back into it, it was right after I had just finished playing Red Dead Redemption. And riding
yeah.
horses in that game is so fluid and so easy, at least for me. And I feel like I don't think anyone's ever complained about the horse riding in that game. But in Witcher 3, it's all over the place. It's a mess. It's terrible. And I really don't want to experience that. It is that bad. And then other things like I've always disliked the idea of levels in those kind of games, and it being like, okay, you can do you're it's recommended that you do this mission when you're this level. Like
Yeah.
that's just irritating, because more often than not, there's really nothing significant about that level that makes it harder, other than, oh, the enemy has more health, or that's pretty much it, or it does more damage. It's just a stat buff basically, which is something um, that people complain about with Destiny, and it's right there in The Witcher 3. The voice acting is awful. I don't know who the director was, but or the casting director or whatever for these games, but that it's terrible. Um, so The Witcher 3 is one that I will not get back to, and it's sitting right over there. I can see it, and I'll never touch it again. Another one is Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey.
Goodbye.
Uh, I'm sorry. Again, big Nintendo fan right here, but the problem with that is that I just thought it was going to be something different. And I know you've heard this on
Yeah.
repeat before, but for those listening, I thought it was going to finally be like a really cool story for once in a Mario game, and I thought it was kind of cool that it was open world, but it was just more Mario in 3 dimensions for me. In a very general sense, there were a lot of cool things you could do for sure, um, that made the game unique, but in the very end, as far as like how I felt playing it, that's how I felt playing it. It was like it's more Mario. It's the same stupid story of, oh, let's go chase Bowser for 1500 years and then finally catch him, and hey, we did it. Congratulations. And the whole finding the moons, like some of those moons are in really creative and cool places, but it's not enough for me for them to say if I'm gonna go after those moons, I've got to have motivation of like, if you go after the moons and you get all the moons and you do this, then this is what can happen for you. Like this, like you get to keep going in the story, and you've already seen part of the story, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to continue this, but there's nothing. It's just like collect moons so that you can collect more moons, and I'm like,
Yeah.
great. Ethan can be the master of that. I'm gonna go and actually like connect with a character and feel things for once, which I know that's not Ethan's specialty.
You lost me.
But so those are a couple. Fallout 4 is one. I've already made a conscious decision. I'm just not going to finish it.
Yeah,
I didn't like it that much. Already kind of talked about that. Anyway, that's about it for me.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to add on the subject of backlogs?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, I think that's a good stopping place. We went a little bit over an hour, but that's okay. Um, I'd like to thank Ethan for coming on to his first Sick and Wired podcast.
I'd like to thank you for having me.
I would like to thank you for never coming again.
You're welcome. My pleasure, trust me.
No, but in all seriousness, I hope we can get you on some more podcasts
Yeah,
in
that
the
was
future.
fun.
After all, we could probably talk about video games for
hours.
many days at a time. So anyway, this'll be it. I mean, Ethan, you're not really part of the Sick Critic team to really. You're more of a special guest, but do you have anything on any Twitter or anything like that? Any Discord channels you like that you want to pimp and plug? Pimp and
not
plug.
necessarily.
That's the new episode of Gigolos coming up after this.
Nothing in particular I'd really like to plug,
Okay.
But, thanks for the offer.
Yeah, of course. And anybody who has listened to podcasts in the past knows that I'm not a huge social media guy, except for getting my news and stuff. But I always love to plug the Sick Critic website, of course, sickcritic.com. We've got content on there that is much better than this. I mean,
good luck with that.
So just check that out. If you enjoy these podcasts, follow us on Podbean so that you can get notified about these. Another one that we don't talk about as often, but it is there, and it's actually a really great way to keep up with all of the writers at Sick Critic. If you like what we do, is check out the Discord. The Sick Critic Discord is you can find that link actually on our website to the Discord, and it's we have game nights on Saturdays. That's almost exclusively set up by David, who comes on the podcast a lot. He's our PR guy. So check that out. Twitter is at Sick Critic. Anything you can most platforms search Sick Critic and we're probably on there. So
MySpace is a big one.
Oh, shut up. So thank you guys so much for being here again. Thank you, Ethan, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.